And then who do we pick as her running mate? There are no indications yet, and Bob has reported this as well, that there are no others currently planning to step up and challenge her after the president said what he said this afternoon, endorsing his running mate. But there will be a conversation about who is most palatable, who makes the most sense to be on the ticket with her. We've heard about a handful of governors, some senators as well across the country from key swing states that could conceivably help. We've seen some statements from some of those that had raised concerns about the president in recent days. Let's look at this list, for example, here. You have the Kentucky governor, Andy Beshear, the Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, the Michigan governor, Gretchen Whitmer, the North Carolina governor, Roy Cooper. Those four right there are seen as potential good ones because they have executive experience. They've run modestly sized states, or in the case of Andy Beshear, won re-election as a Democrat in a red state, and are seen as the kind of person who can be sent out to campaign with the Senate and House candidates who for the last 3 weeks have been saying they can't campaign alongside the president. Others on that list, Mark Kelly from Arizona would be an interesting pick, the former astronaut from a swing state. There's a Democratic governor who could replace him, what might deliver a much-needed battleground state. Those are the kinds of conversations going on right now with Democrats.
Well, certainly the same still exists today about that blue wall that the Democrats, assuming that Vice President Kamala Harris could carry the same states that they did in the last election, the most contested ones being the blue wall, giving Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania very popular in that state and popular with people who voted for Trump. So his name also at the top there. Robert Costa.
Nora, I just stepped off set for a few minutes to get calls from a couple of the people closest to President Biden and some fascinating new details to share with you. This was in the minds of, in the words of his closest advisors, a quote, presidential decision. That's how he frames a lot of things in his presidency. And he did it very much alone. Yes, he conferred with some of his family members and advisors, but he has been in isolation in his home in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. He has been exhausted in recent days. He has been monitoring the polls, including one from the Detroit Free Press. The weight of this all, as he's been coughing all weekend alone, has been enormous on his shoulders. He has felt wounded at times from how fellow Democrats, including from the Obama-Biden administration, have talked about him publicly, how he feels pressured to get out of the race. But he kept this decision extremely close. His son Hunter, reportedly in California, not in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, this weekend. He's talking to his sister Valerie, talking, of course, to the First Lady, Jill Biden. And they have all said to him in recent days, you do what's best for you. This is your decision to make. And he has been alone because of COVID, not because he wants to be alone. He's actually been in a pretty salty mood, I've been told, because of COVID, and he doesn't have the ability to use his phone as much or have the kind of meetings he wants to have. But there have been some key people who have really helped him with this decision to think it through. Mike Donnellan, who goes back decades with him, one of his longtime trusted advisors. They always say Donnellan is like a parish priest. He never speaks. He has this kind of kind demeanor. He almost never speaks in meetings. He only speaks to Biden. He has that kind of relationship, doesn't speak to other advisors because it could trickle out. President Biden, I'm told by his closest advisors, has been angry about the leaks, about anger towards him, about his electability. He has also made clear to people privately that Vice President Harris needs to be fully supported. And they're watching in the coming days. Not only does President Biden address the country, but will she address the country in some capacity? Now, it's unusual for a vice president to have a national address, but she could make some sort of major speech that's not formal with the office of the vice presidency, but a political speech to reintroduce herself to the country. And as late as yesterday evening, some of the people closest to Biden still believe the decision was fluid, was being active, that this is something that came together with 3 or 4 people in the last 6 to 12 hours.
And that I can confirm, having reached out to some of the folks who even this morning